I know, Mr. Former Film Student, you're a grown man. Why are you reviewing a kid's movie? Mr. Former Film Student, why did you see a children's movie at 3:30 p.m. on a Sunday by yourself? Listen, I have a lot of free time, so let's move past it. With that being said, yes, if you are a returning viewer to this channel, I do in fact talk about movies sometimes. There's just been a lot of TV to talk about recently. But now that we have the formalities out of the way, I would like to start by saying I am a massive fan of early Pixar films. One might even say that early Pixar growing up was some of the most formative films that I'd seen that got me into falling in love with movies from an early age. Films like The Incredibles, the Toy Story films, especially the first two, and especially movies like Ratatouille and WALL-E were instrumental in me taking animation as a kid seriously. It seemed like Pixar knew exactly the right formula for making kids animated films and pairing it with mature themes that adults could connect with as well. In recent memory, Pixar has felt a little off, though. I don't mean to say that they are making bad films. I rather liked Coco, and Luca was a fine flick. I enjoyed Onward just fine, but that begs an even deeper question, a more philosophical one. Has Pixar's quality dropped off, or did I just grow up? Maybe a bit of both? I think the first time I really noticed my enjoyment of Pixar films decreasing was Monsters University. The original felt so lively and full of energy, but when I watched the prequel years later, it just felt uninspired and flat. At the time, I chalked it up to just being a less than stellar movie, but now in retrospect, I'm wondering if maybe the movie was in poor quality, or maybe I just grew up a little bit. Now, that's not to say the people behind any of the recent Pixar films don't have passion or inspiration behind them, but a majority of them just haven't been landing the mark for me. And I'm not alone. Maybe similar to the MCU, franchises built on formulas are only as good as the formula remains fresh. With Pixar's recent effort Elemental, which from the trailers looked like Inside Out with elements, I again found myself sitting in a theater, credits rolling on another Pixar film, and just feeling kind of empty. Not that the film was even bad, it boasts stellar animation, the voice acting was more than acceptable, and the story again managed to squeak in those adult themes that even as a 25-year-old man could connect with. I'd also be lying if I said that there wasn't points in the film that didn't evoke genuine emotion from me. However, I still got up and left with an unsatisfied taste in my mouth. This isn't exclusive to Pixar though. I remember doing a rewatch of the Harry Potter franchise a couple years back, films that I absolutely loved growing up. I was that nerdy kid who played with a toy wand in my backyard, pretending to be a wizard, on full display for my neighbors no less. But there always seemed to be a sense of magic every time you turned the movies on. But when I watched them this time around, that sense of magic, that indescribable feeling, don't sue me, AMC or Nicole Kidman, but when the John Williams music kicks in and we zoom in on that logo, there was always something so unique and special about it. And when I watched it this time, it just didn't feel the same. And I asked myself, were the movies just not as good as I remembered? Or was I just growing up and growing out of things? And I think that's the question we all ponder at some point in our lives, whether content we once enjoyed so deeply was always that great, or if our childlike wonder and mesmerization of the world and entertainment being so fresh to us blinded us ultimately. On the surface, there is a lot to like about Elemental. Like I said, it's a beautiful film with inherently good themes. It may be a little poorly paced, and the themes may be a little sporadic, and at times it does feel like the film is trying too hard to be a lot of different things. However, I wouldn't dare say it's a bad film that's poorly made or poorly executed by any stretch of the imagination. So why wasn't my enjoyment higher? When I got done, several children and their parents were clapping, and I was left bewildered. Had we watched the same movie? Am I missing something? Not in a mean-spirited way, but in a truly perplexed emotional crisis kind of way where I was kind of jealous of them. Why didn't I enjoy the movie more? I loved Spider-Verse, so it's not an animation problem, but Pixar just hasn't hit me in the way that it used to. I think any halfway smart person can probably point out that my initial thought was the right one. While it is probably true that modern Pixar hasn't made films that are quite up to the standard of its golden age of Ratatouille and Toy Story 2s, but I'm also 25 now. I'm not the same person I was when I was 10 years old. My experiences and way of thinking have changed drastically, and the way I consume content has gone along with it. It brings me back to a concept that I have come to realize is quite true recently, and that is that there are so many different outlying factors that play a part in what content we consume and what content we enjoy and why we enjoy it. Things like our age, way of thinking, political views, relationships with friends and families, experiences with love and with life. All of these grand theories and concepts intertwining all to affect even the minute of things in life, like a silly kids movie about fire and water falling in love. Maybe I'm thinking too much into all of this. Maybe this is way too much detail and thought for a 1 hour and 42-minute Pixar film made for children, but leaving the theater, I couldn't help ponder what happened. Was it me? Was it the movie? Or was it all of it? Well, thanks anyway, guys, for listening to me. If you did like the video, make sure to click the like button, subscribe to me if you enjoyed the content and you want to hear more from me. And also, guys, I don't have a regular upload schedule, so if you click that little bell notification, you will get notified when I post new content. And as always, I will see you guys on the next video.